Hey all, I've entitled this video Seeing Red, and that title is a play on words. The phrase means to get angry, and nothing can get a colorist angrier than if they can't quite get that bright red color right. In this video, I'm going to talk about that bright, vibrant red we associate with such characters as Superman or Spider-Man. Red can be a tricky color, and a lot of people struggle with it. So here, I'll show you how to get it right. So when we're doing red and we want to do a vibrant red, we're going to pick a vibrant red. So right now, you see the red that I have on Superman's costume right now looks pretty vibrant. But we're right now, if you look up here, we're in RGB, which I normally work in RGB. That's fine, but it's going to be printing in CMYK. So let's go and see what it looks like in CMYK by going up to View, Proof Setup, and I'm going to turn on my working CMYK. Actually, I'm going to make sure my working CMYK is selected, and then I'm going to hit Proof Colors, or you can hit Command Y. Now, if you don't know the proper way to set up your working CMYK, you might want to check out my recent video that is called "Do This Before Coloring the Page," and I go over that. How to select a proper color space. So, all right. So now we're going to look at it in CMYK, and now we're going to see that suddenly this red becomes a lot more dull. It's no longer vibrant. And the reason for that is that, well, for one, you can see there's the color is actually out of gamut, so that means the color that I had selected wasn't even printable. But also, it's because we didn't take into account what that color, that traditional bright red color in comic books are. And so you have to understand that that the bright red, when you see the bright red in comics, that CMYK value of that red is, and I'll select the proper red right now, and you look over here in my CMYK values, it is 100% magenta and 100% yellow. That's what creates that nice bright red. So I'm going to go ahead and select the red and fill that red in there. So now that red, and this is basically how it would print, is nice and vibrant. But now we're going to, typically in modern comics, we do some rendering, so we don't want just a flat red. And rendering is where you can fall into problems, because a lot of times when you're adding more values, it's going to muddy up that red. So here's how I normally approach it. All right, I'll select that red again. And if you're familiar with my coloring approach, I typically have base colors, and then I have a few layers above that are set to linear dodge with a mask on. And these ones on linear dodge, those are my highlight colors, and I just paint on the mask. But it doesn't really matter how you do this. It's you're going to want the same thing. So I already have that 100% magenta, 100% yellow, red on these layers, on my highlight layers. So for my base layers, I'm going to want to pick kind of like a darker red. Yeah, let's try that one. That might be too dark. Let's try one a little bit lighter. Yeah, that's pretty decent. So this one, you notice this one adds 25% cyan, so it's a little bit blue, which is pushing a little bit of the purple thing, but it still looks reddish. It's not as vibrant, but it's still red, so this works great in the shadow areas. So now I'm going to go on to one of my highlight layers, and I am going to just create some shapes. Then I'm going to do some basic cut and grad approach here just to demonstrate this. brush on there. Oh, I'm on pencil. That's the problem. Oh. There we go. Get the brush I want. Alright, so then alright, so I'm going to just paint first kind of a light. Then we'll go on to the layer above that and do a secondary cut. Alright, and now you're noticing this still isn't quite red, now is it? It's going pink. So a few options we could do is, instead of having linear dodge, I could change these to normal. And now we're seeing more red, but coming through for the highlights. But I don't like that because it interrupts with my flow. So I'm going to show you another way. So I mean, that's one way you can do it. I'm going to show you another way that I actually prefer. Oop, putting on the wrong. There we go. All right, and so now I'm going to create a new layer above the highlights I just put. I want to make sure I select the red areas there. And on this one, all right, I'm going to I'm going to select that that bright 100% magenta, 100% yellow, red again. And I am going to fill that area. And now I'm going to set this to darken. And now you can see I have a nice vibrant red in my highlights. And basically what darken does is it puts the lighter values is going to turn into whatever that color is. So the brighter the value below it, the more saturated, or the more more saturated that color that you chose on that layer is going to be. So now I can, actually I'm going to create another layer just to demonstrate, and I'm just going to straight up paint white on that layer. And now keep in mind, I have the color white there, but you'll notice because I have that darken layer above it, it turns it red. And so no matter how bright you go with your highlights on below the darken layer, it won't go beyond that nice bright candy apple red that we want. So I'm going to go back on my rendering layer. I'm not really doing a super tight rendering job. I'm just trying to demonstrate getting those bright reds in there. I'm just doing it really quick. All right, so now if I turn that darken layer off, you'll notice now I'll go back to pink. That part's still white, but I have that darken on, and it keeps my highlight colors, that nice candy apple red. All right, so there's that. But now, say if you're coloring something that you want red, but you also want it to look shiny, like it's like a really reflective material. There you might want to do like a very tight, thin highlight. Right, and here I could select like a very bright pink. Set this to linear dodge. Just to kind of make it look like there's a light, bright highlight shining on there. You could also maybe, I would either go with like a really light pink, or maybe even an orangey yellow color. And go with the oops. There. So something like that would make it shiny, but you want to be careful when you're adding highlights that are like orange or pink on top of that red if you want to maintain it looking red, because if you did a big chunky highlight over that, oops, right, well now it's looking less red, and it's going to be looking more like that orange you selected, or the pink, or whatever you want, whatever color you selected. So you want to be a bit subtle with any other like brighter highlights on your when you're rendering. Otherwise, you're going to start washing out the red that you want. So, and that's basically it. If you want that bright, vibrant red, that's what you have to think about doing. You have to remember that to be using 100% magenta. Let's look at it again. 100% magenta, 100% yellow. You have to make sure you're working in the correct CMYK color space, or previewing the correct CMYK color space, so that when you're done, you can convert to it, and that your reds will be preserved when you convert to CMYK. And you have to be careful with any other brighter colors you put on top of your highlight, so you don't wash out the red. And that's basically the simple way of creating that nice vibrant red. If you're interested in getting a closer look at this layered file, I'm going to be making this available to the people who support me on Patreon in my $5 tier. And of course, anyone who supports me on Patreon can get early access to my videos a month ahead of time. So if you want to check out next month's video right now, feel free to head over to my Patreon and support me on any level. And otherwise, I guess I will see you in the next video. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to my channel so you won't miss out on future videos. Also, if you're really serious about becoming better at digital coloring, enroll in my online courses, and be sure to check out my past videos as well. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time.